Yes. I think we're live now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special post-Adepticon edition of the Dr. Norbert and Huggy stream. There's the light. I'm very pleased to be broadcasting out of London after Adepticon because not only do I have my lovely co-host from Sweden. Hello, Huggy.
Hello, Norbert.
Hello. We have the pleasure of our first guest ever, which is Nate, coming to us all the way from Tennessee. Is that
Tennessee.
okay?
Yeah.
Tennessee. So we've got a multi-country stream here going, and for everybody, we only have Nate for about an hour or so, a little less now. You're going to let us know when you have to go, right? And because we're going to keep chatting.
I will, and actually this worked out really well. I'm in Central Time, so I've got an extra like 30, 45 minutes in there.
Absolutely. This is wonderful. The magic of time zones. Nate, we have you on because not only are you a fantastic member of the MCP community, but you were also at Adepticon, and you actually won the singles event at Adepticon.
I did. By some crazy turn of events and some lucky dice, I managed to get quite a few W's racked up, I guess.
Yeah, it's amazing. So tonight we're going to be asking you a bit about how you prepared and how things went at the during the tournament, but also a bit about how you enjoyed the show. Was it your first time at Adepticon?
Yes, this was my first Adepticon. I was planning on going in 2020, and the pandemic happened, and have been wanting to go ever since. And so, the first year they've had it since Marvel Crisis Protocol, I was able to be at the show and was happy to show up, and it was a blast.
Excellent. You know, we have the very same story. I've never been. I've only heard about it. Been to other cons, but this was never on my radar. And
Mhm.
then I was supposed to go as a big birthday present from my wife in 2020. And then, as everybody knows, just like you said, it got shut down. So it just was 2 years more anticipation to make it even better.
Absolutely.
Cool. So, look, Huggy's got dressed up. I'm just going to be, part of the peanut gallery since both you and I went, but he wasn't there. So, he's going to be doing the hosting this time more than me. So, Huggy, do you want to? Well, first of all, Nate, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone and talk about how they can see you? Because I know you're also a content creator.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
please.
So I am Nate. I have a small YouTube channel called The Gamers Guild that is really just focused on Marvel Crisis Protocol. It's got everything from character reviews and thoughts, battle reports, and a little bit of stuff in between there. And then just within the past couple of months, I've also started a MCP podcast, also called The Gamers Guild, to keep the message and branding simple, I guess. But we've been going through a bunch of different affiliations, just kind of breaking down like, hey, if you're getting into the game and you want to start with this affiliation, here's some boxes we recommend. Here's some good splash characters and some strategies to look at.
Yeah. I also know that you created some really nice files for the updated cards that are part of the November release. Isn't that right? Because I remember you doing like a sign-off episode and you had those files, which were really handy for me.
You know what? I cannot even take credit. Somebody shared those files to me, and I asked if I could share them with the community, and they said absolutely. So I was just the messenger with that. But
Oh,
I'm happy to share such great content for the community.
yeah, it was great because what I did is I didn't just print them out. Instead, I sent them over to Snapfish, which is like a photographic
Mhm.
company, and the files were high enough resolution that they were able to make essentially pictures out of them, and it made it really crystal clear cards for me to use at the table.
Perfect.
Okay, Huggy, now that we've got that out of the way, why don't we talk about Adepticon?
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to add that I have really been enjoying your affiliation breakdowns on the Gamers Guild podcast. Listen to them on my way to work. Really nice. But
Thank you.
one thing I've been wondering about, since I haven't had the pleasure of yet playing in a large physical event post the pandemic. And I don't know how many other than Adepticon you've been attending. Perhaps you were at NashCon?
Yeah,
Um,
I actually ran NashCon alongside Grant, or Gronko as he is known on the Discords.
oh, right. Fantastic. So, um, when it comes to competitive play, maybe more so than play in general, what are the main differences from TTS competitive play and IRL games in your experience?
I think the biggest one, especially when you get into some of the more competitive games where you're wanting to make sure you have as many things lined up and positioning just right, is the in-person events put a lot more pressure on time, which I personally think in a lot of ways is a good thing, because I know we've had some of those TTS games go for 3 hours, if not longer sometimes, which is like a crazy amount of time to me. So being able to say like, hey, you have an hour and a half with an extra 15 minutes there for setup and everything else, really helps keep the pace of the game going. Uh, which I think that's the biggest thing I've noticed, at least for the competitive games.
Mm.
Was an hour and a half a workable round time, do you think?
I think so. It's what we used at NashCon as well, with that extra 15 minutes for uh, basically setting up and tearing down the board after and getting the terrain back from any that was displaced, thrown, etc. And I think as long as both players kind of know what they're doing and what their teams do, you can probably get through an hour and a half pretty easily.
Just a funny thing happened on our last local tournament. The organizer said before the first round that, okay, all you Brotherhood players, it's on your responsibility to take a picture of the board before the game starts.
That is perfect. I got to on the last day they had the affiliation battle, which was really cool, and I saw there was a board that basically had zero terrain left, and sure enough, there were two Magneto players facing off against each other, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Also, the measurements are not the same in TTS because they're not precise any longer.
Hmm.
Did you find that to
Yeah,
be an issue in the gaming? Meaning not only are you not measuring precisely, but the fact that the tokens don't go down exactly the right way.
Uh, I I think you just kind of have to allow for allowances. Pretty much, you know it's just one of those things, and the same as any other miniatures game. Like bu- bumps are going to happen. You can maybe remeasure objectives if they get pretty badly displaced at some point or another. But all of my opponents, at least, were we were very gracious with each other. If things were like really close, it's kind of like, yeah, sure, like with the bumping that's happened, you're probably within range. Or sometimes, like, we would get a movement tool out to put on a different model, and then we would remove that model, kind of marking its place, so that we could then get a decently accurate measure through different characters or terrain pieces.
Mm. So I mean,
yeah. I assume sorry.
no, go ahead.
Yeah, I assume I assume you're bound to having to accept more of a messiness when it comes to physical gaming, and that's just the way it is. And it is a gentleman's sport after all, which is about decisions rather than eyeballing, even though
Hmm.
eyeballing base sizes are sort of a thing.
Yeah, they're definitely part of it, but at the end of the day, I think it's important to, like, yes, you're in a competitive environment to a certain degree, but like you you, you have to be civil about it, and just kind of yeah, just be easygoing about some of those things when things are looking close on the board as far as measurements and stuff. Just be like, yeah, cool. Like there's definitely that probability that you're probably supposed to be in here, and really just it always helps when you're declaring each other. It's like, cool. Like, I've measured this out, and this is going, like, he's within two. My opponent agrees. Cool. Then later when we come back and if some shifting happens, it's like, cool. Well, we know he was within two.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Totally agree. It's all about that recognition. I think the only time that it falls down is if you're, as a player, making assumptions as to where you think you're supposed to go based on perfect measurements, because that might not be the case in a real life scenario any longer. But once you've placed it down and say, I'm within 1, do you agree? Yes, agreed. After that, if it moves, it's not a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game is kind of not really designed around perfect measurements, which is why we have the that you're allowed to pre-measure anything except base, basically. Then of course there are shenanigans with movement tools you can employ, and I guess that's fine, but some degree of like non-optimal movements and throwing and pushing and things like that is just part of the game. If you want a model to clip another model, you're just gonna have to apply some margin rather than saying I'm gonna throw this model so that it exactly clips at exactly this point. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, I suppose the logical point of departure here is, of course, your list and your preparation for the event. And I must say that I'm really pleased to see you taking this event home with not only a very classic Avengers list, but also at least in my opinion, cinematic Avengers list. Because personally, I really I consider myself a competitive player, but I still like to make rosters that sort of make sense from a lore standpoint. I find that more of an interesting challenge, so to speak, and I think you kind of knocked it out of the park on this one. So I would like to hear more about your reasoning behind your roster, and a good starting point for that is perhaps the question: what do you mean, no Sam?
So that's a very good opening question all its own, I guess. So from day one, I love the value engine that Captain America Steve Rogers brings with him to the table, and the only thing I kind of excuse me regretted was that there weren't a ton of in-affiliation characters that really made the full use of his leadership right out the gate. There were a lot of out-of-affiliation characters that kind of really amped that up. But then, as more and more releases happened, and the character updates and other things, some things started to really get like, yes, this works. This is going to be great. And I guess really to answer that, like where's Sam? I think Sam is an excellent Avenger in Steve's Avengers, being able to get the discount for his vibranium shield, his charge, his airlift, like all good things. But ultimately, because I didn't do a lot of prep, so I might have to disappoint you guys on that side of things. Basically, it was like, cool, I want to make sure my options are simple. I don't want to have to be debating, is this a scenario where I need to take Sam instead of Steve? And so I just kind of went all in on like, cool, we're going to go Value Town with Steve's Avengers. I'm going to make my decision process simple so I don't have to overcomplicate roster building. And just left Sam at home, and with basically for Luke Cage, I think is the ultimate character that would have been the swap out.
So am I hearing correctly that you haven't really been playing this roster very long?
Maybe 2 weeks before the event, and I got 2 in-person games with it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, that makes it all the more impressive, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I've been playing Steve's Avengers for a pretty long time, and especially once the update happened. But this final roster was not to stress test very hard or anything like that.
For the ease of the listeners, perhaps we should just run down what you brought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've just linked the top 4 lists as well in the chat for everybody.
I got the roster in front of me if you want me to.
No, yeah, please go for it.
All right. So you got Black Cat, Black Panther, Bullseye, Captain America Steve Rogers, Dr. Voodoo, Hulk, Iron Man, Loki with a Mind Gem, Luke Cage, and Vision. And when it comes to team tactics cards, we see Advanced R&D, Avengers Assemble, Blind Obsession, Field Dressing, Heroes for Hire, Indomitable, Marked for Death, Medpack, Mission Objective, and Ricochet Blast. And for extracts, we got Hammers, Research Station, and Montesi Formula. And for Secures, we got Gamma, Mutant Madman, and Portals Overrun with Spider People. And looking at your characters, I'm noticing that all of them are actually affiliated Avengers, except for 3 of them, namely Black Cat, Bullseye, and Loki. Which somewhat builds to my thought about the cinematicness. Sorry, not a native speaker. But your unaffiliated choices. What was your thought behind those? Maybe especially Loki with the Mind Gem, since that's not something, at least I see very often.
Yeah, so starting with Loki, Loki's just a very, very fun character. And kind of going with that, like, man, I really want to be able to build a value engine around Steve. Loki's probably the character in the game that makes the most use out of Steve's leadership. Maybe Venom is a close second. But Loki's just going to be able to do so many shenanigans with the discount that Steve gives access to. Loki is able, with the Mind Gem, is able to get anybody off of an objective, which is really nice. I wanted all of my characters to have some sort of a push, advance, throw, or some sort of option to bring a little bit of control into the game. But Loki also just hits like a truck. He's the only other character besides Corvus who can count blanks as successes when attacking, and he does it for a power cheaper than Corvus, and then with Steve, he does it for 2 power cheaper than Corvus. And so he's got this great versatility of being able to both dance around the board with Trickster, remove people from points both through just straight up aggression, as well as Mind Gem shenanigans.
So, what can you say about what makes you put him in actual teams?
I love Loki. Mostly, the things that are going to make me put him on the board are when we have a clumped up objective. So something like Researcher, Gamma, even the superpowered Scoundrels. I think it is the 5-wide secure that came with Gambit and Rogue. Basically, the more people I can get under his bubble of you have to spend extra power for superpowers, and then when he's flipped, basically all enemy characters are also hexed. Those are the times as well. I really like him as a counterpiece to Black Order right now, because he does what I think a lot of people want to do to Thanos, and that is make his gems cost power. And so he's able to really slow down Thanos, because suddenly Thanos can only move one enemy character once he's inside Loki's bubble with his 3 power on turn 1.
Yeah, not to mention the death decrease that become 50% less often used.
Yep, Death Decrees attacks his Corvus and Proxima's husband and wife another degree, so suddenly if Corvus doesn't have 2 power left over, Proxima doesn't get that immediate follow-up, and it makes it so Corvus is not using his Glaive's Edge as often, since it now costs a whopping 4 power close to Loki.
Yeah, and that's really interesting about Loki, because the main thing about him is just basically the Mind Gem, which caught my interest, because it feels like there are 2 different ways of playing him. either with a mind gem, which makes him a 5-cost character that you would expect a lot of impact out of, or just running him as a 4, not picking up extracts with him, but placing him centrally so that sort of baiting your opponent into making attacks into him rather than your extract holders. And if they don't, he's just going to be a nuisance to them, which I suppose is something that works best when you have prio and manage to get an early lead on extracts, more or less. But I also noticed that you have the Black Cat round 1 shenanigans online with advanced R&D. But yeah, that's a good one. But yet you're not running any single extracts.
I don't like that game plan personally. I like being able to go in, brawl. I don't like to necessarily have to worry about important objectives going to a corner or something. So Black Cat is a little bit there in this regard, at least, more for my protection than for my own game plan, if that makes sense.
She's more of an insurance policy than a lethal weapon in your hands.
Exactly. And granted, I don't know if we'll go through all the games, but there was a game where I had her do the turn 1 shenanigan only once. It's because it was Criminal Syndicate and Deadly Legacy Virus, and that's just a lethal combo if it goes unchecked. So,
so do you take her over Voodoo because she's cheaper for the purpose that you just described?
why not both? Voodoo is thankfully in affiliation for Steve, and I think there was only one game where they actually both ended up making it on the table. No, there were 2 games where it ended up happening. But yeah, when it comes to being able to make sure I can deny when there's only one objective on the field, I usually will try to bring both of them to cover both sides of the board fully.
Excellent.
Yeah, that seems to be a generally popular strategy at the moment, running all single extracts and those 2 together. Did you get a chance to play Hulk in any of your games at Adepticon?
Hulk is the only character I did not bring once in the 6 games, oddly enough. Everybody else was able to make it to the table once, but Hulk was sadly left behind because a lot of people enjoy bringing Hulk at pretty much any point total that they can because he's a lot better than he used to be. But I personally still only like bringing him on low threat totals where the crisis are condensed. So something like Gamma or Researcher in particular.
Like in a 4-wide team then, or perhaps even a 3-wide on Gamma, you could?
Yeah, I have absolutely rocked the nightmare for my opponent that was Hulk, Loki, and Steve in testing.
Oh, amazing.
Love it. Love it. So moving on to the actual tournament and your games, what was your expectations going into this? Where you did say you didn't have time to prep much, but did you feel confident, given the opposition and going into this, that you would place well, or was it just let's wing it and see?
I was in a position where I was like, cool, like at minimum, I want to make sure I go 3-1, so it looks like I can at least back up all this content that I put out and be like, yes, I do know what I'm doing. Kind of a position. The 4th game was one where I got a little bit lucky and was able to coast from there. But then once we got into the top 4, I knew competition was going to heat up significantly because I knew 2 of the 3 other competitors, and was at that point I was kind of like, cool. Like at this point, if I can get third and go home, I'm going to be really happy. Get the medal and stuff like that. But I did not think that I was going to be coming away with first place or anything.
So just for the listeners and for yourself, Huggy, people should understand Adepticon is really a big convention in the United States for miniatures. They require painted miniatures, and that's all they do is miniatures. It was 4 days long. The first day had a couple of different casual type events in it. The second day had a rather large team event, but not like most team events, but rather kind of like where two players played as one player. And we're going to talk about that after we finish with Nate, because I was in that one. And day 3 and 4 is when we had the singles tournament. I think everybody got to play day 3, and then I think they only had the top people on Sunday on day 4.
Mm-hmm.
And Nate, remind me, but I think there was, what was it, like 68 players? Do you recall?
I believe we hit 66 was the final number. I think we had like 74 spots. Then there was a waiting list, and then as people do at a convention, people just don't show up after a night of too much fun or
Mm-hmm.
something of that sort. And I think the final number we ended up hitting for Saturday/Sunday's event was 66 people.
Okay, so Omnis is saying 66. Omnis, you're in the chat. I think LVO was in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. And prior to that was NashCon, the first big con that had in America that had MCP. How much did you have there, Nate?
We had like 36.
36.
So not huge, but the hope is every year we sell out, they double our space. So
I know
Yeah,
that
that's quite exponential growth.
yeah.
I know that Adepticon was very pleased with the showing of MCP. And I think they're going to be giving us more tables as well, if not doubling it for sure.
Yeah, I think Hank, real quick, is a nice little fun bit. Hank said I think they had over 200 unique people signed up for MCP events throughout the weekend.
Wow, amazing. That's great. Yeah, because let's not forget, it wasn't just competitive. There was loads of open gaming. As I mentioned, there was casual tournaments as well. So yeah, I'm just getting in the confirmation. So the prior convention was LVO at 50-ish between the two. They had two qualifiers, so between the two of them, 50 or so unique players. Warfare Weekend also took place for the first time with MCP. Tim Simpson was running that as well. That was 30 people, and you said you had about 36 people. So my point about this is that you've been now playing in the largest tournament to date so far in the world.
Yeah, or at least the U.S. I know some people have said that the U.K. has had some pretty sizable events as well. So
yes, we had a single day team tournament, so three-person teams. That was like 32 times 3, so that's quite large, 90 something.
yeah,
Yeah, and I think it was 32. No, beg your pardon. It was 16. I think it was 16 only because I think we only played 4 rounds. Yes, yes. Sorry. So 16 times 3, whatever that comes out to. 10, 20, 30, 54. Yeah, something like that. Some of the 50s. I know Tony Moore is looking to, in a couple of weeks' time, he's going to be running a 2-day event. That'll be our first 2-day singles event here in the UK. I'm not sure where the numbers are looking at now, but they're also quite high. So we'll see. They might be as big, maybe slightly bigger than Adepticon. But anyway, that's where we're at as a community now. And also just to let people know, in May, the Spanish community, which is a very active community, they'll be running their first big 2-day event. I think it's the first one, but certainly if not first, second. And they're looking to get 40-ish players. So
that's awesome.
Events are springing up out there, people. You just need to start getting out of your hidey holes and shake off that pandemic feeling and get out there. All right, with that kind of framework, give a context of it. I wanted to also mention a bit, Nate, about the tables.
Yeah.
The organizers, I want to say Mike Tisdale was the head organizer for MCP. Wonderful guy. Met him for the first time there. Tim Simpson was the head judge. He also had quite a bit of helpers. Maybe, Tim, if you can mention who those were, I'll mention them out because they did loads of work so long. But they worked with AMG and got all the AMG official mats. and also had mostly official AMG terrain as well, although smattering of other types, but certainly enough, I thought. I mean, it was definitely a fair amount of terrain on each table, and by fair, I mean in some instances quite heavy, some instances a little bit lighter, but certainly within the limits of the game, so it wasn't being short-changed. And the best part of all is that they got a whole load of new Quinjets in, and so the Adepticon team actually put those Quinjets in and painted them in time for the tournament. Amazing.
And there were some beautiful Quinjets out there, and what people were able to do slash the Adepticon team. There was one in particular that I think is brilliant. Did you see the Hydra Quinjet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Uh,
with the decals on it as well as the painting.
yeah, because there was it was basically like if you look at it from the side, it just looks like a smattering of a camo style paint job on the Quinjet, but then if you look at it overhead, it's the Hydra logo, and I was like, wow, that's so well done.
It was great. A couple other points. So Tim is telling me Charles M and Liam E both helped with registration in open play. So thank you, gentlemen, because they were there from 8 in the morning, if not sooner, till close to midnight. Well done. Always available, very friendly. Loads of prize support there. All kinds of things. I think courtesy of AMG, plus really super duper terrain boxes they were giving away, and awesome Adepticon medals for people who won. And if people want to see these games, there was a live stream on Twitch, which was the Casual Network, Professional Casual Network. They're on Twitch, and also the infamous MCP YouTube channel was recording games. So I don't know, Nate, how many of those were recorded? How many of your games are either recorded or streamed?
I know I had a total of 4 stream games, 2 for What If and 2 for the Contest Champions. And I think I made it onto the infamous camera twice,
Oh, amazing.
one for each event, so quite a few.
Okay, amazing. So this is great. So if people want to follow up on these matches after you hear us describe them to you now on this stream, be sure to check out those 2 different channels. And if I can figure out how to link them after the show's over, I will go ahead and do that as well. All right.
With some definitely action-packed and elegant commentary on top.
Yeah, the professional casual guys were super. I met them for the first time there. I don't know. Had you known them, Nate, before this?
I knew of them. I had listened to a couple of their things before. First time getting to meet them, interact with them. I think Omnis put it best. Like they are infectious fun.
Yeah.
You can't not have a good time around them. They are fantastic.
Super professional. There was like 4 of them. All of them were trading. They had a table boss at the same time as they were doing the streaming, so that you could see what was going on. They had guest commentators on there. They were streaming like nonstop. I mean, it was like the Olympics type of streaming going on there because it was nonstop. Really lovely people from upstate New York, somewhere between Albany and Binghamton, maybe Syracuse. I'm not sure. It gets a little hazy up there. I'm from New York City area, and that might as well be the Midwest for all I know already. But wonderful people. All right, enough about what happened at the convention. I just wanted to set the scene for everybody because it was just an amazing. I'm still buzzing from the convention. I mean, it's if you can't, you need to get out to a convention, people. If you don't, and Europe needs to start doing American style conventions. I led the charge for War Machine. Huggy was at many of those. We did SmogCon and BonesCon, and they were awesome 5 or 6 years that we did that. But since then, it really hasn't become a thing, sadly. And I miss it so dearly, and it's such a wonderful time. So hopefully, maybe people will be inspired to do this here in Europe as well after they hear about this. But okay, all right, I've said enough. Huggy, let's get to the games. Everybody wants to hear how things went down.
Yeah, please tell us a bit about your games, Nate.
Yeah, absolutely. I need to be more prepared. So I remember round 1 was against A Force for me, and it was really just kind of a game of keep away from She-Hulk. Don't let my
Hmm.
opponents get the bodyguards off, and basically just kind of taking care of the other models there, while not having to worry about She-Hulk bodyguarding, distributing power, and their normal shenanigans, I guess.
Do you
Let's
remember
see.
what Crisis you were playing on?
That was one where we did a research station, but then that was my first of 4 times playing the Spider Portals objective as well.
That's an
So
interesting combination.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was interesting because basically turn one we each picked a side of the board, we each grabbed the Spider Portal respectively there, and then everything else we just kind of met in the middle for the overall brawl.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then as characters were dazed and stuff, I would send a character like Black Panther with his long move, 3 dice, to go and try to control some of those other points. As slowly but surely, the researcher moved on to I think Paul was my first opponent and managed to get the researcher to the evacuation point and
Oh,
started scoring a lot of points.
oh yeah. That's bad news when that happens. Particularly, I like the way the mechanic works in that even if you don't own you don't control the researcher, if it's sitting at your station, you're still scoring those 2 points.
Yep, absolutely. It's
As soon as you get it there, then it really puts a clock on the game because you're bound to having scored at least 4 points already from the researcher in
Mhm.
order to get it there. So you're likely to be close to at least 10, 12 points by that time.
Yeah, depending on whatever the other secure is, and then if you're holding it at the end of that, I guess third turn, if you're able to get it there, you get 6 points just because it's sitting there, maybe even another two, and it scores quickly.
Indeed.
Cool. Who was game two?
Game two was the one time I almost brought Hulk. But then we did 14 threat instead of 15, so I opted for Voodoo and Bullseye because we played the Senator, or the Mutant Extremist, where you basically you flip over the objectives, and once you found him, great, that character is rolling one less defense die and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
But we were also playing Gamma, so it's not like you could really try to run away too much. And that was against X-Men, Storm's X-Men, and it was a good game. And like there were definitely things my opponent could have done differently, but Dice helped me quite significantly right out the gate. Black Panther has a wonderful move that he can do on any time there's a middle secure objective where he moves long. He spends one to pounce, getting him onto that objective point, and then he gets to do a strike to usually push somebody off of a point.
Mm.
Well, that strike happened to be 5 successes on 5 dice into a beast that rolled nothing but blanks, pushed beast outside of the gamma waves and or the safety zone, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he ended up with a dazed beast on turn one. And then my first activation on the following turn was Black Panther, who then proceeded to both daze Honey Badger and Gambit. So Black Panther made a huge difference that game.
So Nate, what is the typical sacrifice you make to the dice gods ahead of coming to a convention? I think we want to know.
You know what? This was actually like my first convention I got to go to ever.
Oh yeah.
MCP is my first game that I've gotten to this level with, I guess. Otherwise, I've dabbled in a couple of other skirmish games and stuff. But this was my first like convention to go and play at. So no sacrifices. I guess maybe I sacrificed my voice because that disappeared over the course of the convention. But
Yeah, no.
besides that,
I know the answer then because the dice gods always smile on the beginner, always 100%,
ah,
to make sure you're like, surely this is wonderful. It's going to last forever. And then they turn their heads away from you after they've hooked you in. So that's definitely what just happened there.
absolutely. I will account it to that, and then you may not see me at any other events suspiciously after this.
Yeah, you'll be down on the monkey tables with the rest of us scrubs.
Absolutely.
So that's
Well,
cool.
I usually like to say that dice variance is certainly a thing in this game, but in order to win a big event like this, good dice are necessary but not sufficient.
That's right. Yes.
I like that.
And you, Nate. So you're saying that the NashCon that you ran last year, late last year, August last year, right? So that was your first convention, although you didn't play in it. You were organizing it.
Yeah, I've been to Gen Con, which is really more of in the way of board games and stuff like that. Yeah, so NashCon was the first miniature focused convention that I had been to, and ended up just running the event.
Okay, fair enough. All right, I think that brings us to game 3.
Game three. Game three was against the dreaded Criminal Syndicate. This is where it was Legacy Virus, and once again, Portal's overrun city with spider people. And this is one where basically I had priority, so I managed to score all 3 of the Legacy Virus thanks to Black Cat and her turn 1 steal with advanced R&D. And also because the Criminal Syndicate player went wider than me, Black Cat was able to double move, steal from Toad. He then had an activation left. Hood popped an attack into Black Cat. She ended up living, and then I had priority, so Black Cat was able to book it away from Juggernaut, Toad, and Hood on one side of the board, back to the safety of Captain America's bodyguard. But before she did that, and probably one of the things that drastically changed the outcome of this game was she did a Troublemaker, which is the attack that automatically staggers the enemy character targeting Hood, because Juggernaut had enough power to just instantly spend 3 power and essentially shake the action anyway, or the stagger. So I targeted Hood, and even my opponent, Nick, was like, man, I don't think I've ever done this, but I'm going to play Sacrifice on Hood, of all people, and let Juggernaut take this. And then he ends up blocking all the damage, so he actually just has a Juggernaut that's staggered on turn 2 that is not even close to any of the other characters on the board. So after doing that, we got the elusive trigger, move short, move long, and then spent 1 for the grappling hook to get well into safe territory.
Did you end up sacrificing her to get the 8 points?
I did not, because basically what I wanted to do was just stay up on points on the secures, get a couple extra here and there from the Legacy Virus, but I wanted to make sure that I spread out the Legacy Virus cures to different sides of the board so that there was no chance of a late game comeback.
Okay. KG, love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
But otherwise, my opponent kind of turned on the brawl onto me, and there was the awkward point where it was 14 to, I think, like 6, so I only needed 2 more points. And at that point, Black Panther, Voodoo, and Cat went to different board edges, and his Black Cat was able to steal 1 of them, but I got the 2 points I needed to secure the victory there.
Cool. Let's go into game 4, which is the end of the day 1, or Saturday, and then I'll ask you a couple of questions about the set of 4 games that you had played so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So game 4 was against James, and this one was Skrulls Infiltrate, and once again, Spider Portals. And this is one where they're kind of just ended up getting a little bit lucky. We were playing at 18 threat, so it was kind of go wide. I had Black Cat just in case, because Corvus is really good at finding that scroll, unfortunately for me. But my opponent made a misplay where Corvus did a death blow, got the flurry trigger, but like had already just absolutely murdered Black Panther on the first 9 dice attack. And so he was left without any power, and instead of trying to get into a position to attack a character, build some power, and roll for the scroll, he moved away, forgetting that he was on no power and wasn't able to roll for it. The next activation, other side of the board, Luke Cage is like, sure, I'll try to find it, and of course does.
Nice. Amazing.
Yeah, so at that point, he kind of gave up on trying to score any of the points and just kind of went full murder town. But thankfully, because of how activations ended up, Black Cat was able to get a stagger onto Corvus, and then I had priority the following turn, at which point she went and staggered both Thanos and Proxima. So he started the round, or he started his turn with all three of his Black Order characters staggered.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. How did
Yeah,
that game
so
end up?
ended up with Luke Cage still on his healthy side. Only Nebula had managed to get a single attack into him, and the point I think was 18-4.
Okay. Great. So what I wanted to ask you is of your four games, which was the tightest, you think? Which was the one that you were really concerned about?
Of these, probably the one against Criminal Syndicate because he was able to start chewing through my characters. I think everybody except for Doctor Voodoo, who had just like a point or two of stamina left, was on their injured side. And so, despite being able to be ahead on the score pretty well, if that game had gone on another full turn without me running away, there's a good chance that he would just have been able to continue to wipe me off the board.
Wow. So that got your heart racing a little bit?
Got my heart racing a little bit. Yeah, but at the same time, once you're up 5-2 in the first round of the, or I guess after the first uh, round of the game, yeah, you're it's not too much of a major concern, and you're just kind of you're playing this game of like, cool, just make sure my opponent doesn't get all of the legacy viruses. So none of these were they were all terrifying setting up and picking your roster, and you set it down, you begin to figure out the puzzle.
Hmm.
Black Order would have been a much more terrifying matchup if Corvus was the one who did indeed find the scroll agent, but just that's how those things go with the single extracts, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think that teaches people a lesson insofar as that you always have to be prepared for your opponent to find the scroll or whatever in the wrong place, essentially. And so to cover your
Hmm.
bases rather than trying to go too hard in one direction.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
it would be really awkward because he had Corvus, Proxima, and Thanos all on one half of the board. Luke was on the other. So even if Thanos had just like double moved and then teleported in Corvus, well, at that point you're just completely leaving the secures
Hmm.
wide open for me to go and take over.
All right, so it's Saturday night. How did you spend it?
We went to Giordano's
Ah,
and
good choice.
uh, let's see. No, Saturday. We did Giordano's on Friday. I misspoke. We went to Kuma's Corner, which is this like really bizarre bar slash burger joint that's absolutely delicious.
Hmm.
Have you been?
No, I haven't been to that one. No.
It's like a heavy metal screamo bar. And they're showing like these vampire movies on TV and stuff. But I got a fantastic burger that was basically a chicken and waffle
Oh.
burger.
Oh, they're speaking
That
your
was
language. It's like this. They brought the South with them for you.
they did. It was delicious, and look forward to going back and trying some of their other crazy concoctions that they had.
I'm going to have to, though, mention Giordano's. For people who don't know, this is one of the two major well-known deep dish pizza places that Chicago is famous for. And considering that this is your first time, I'd imagine you never had one like that before?
I'd never had one like that before.
Okay, so let me help people understand because using the word pizza is a mistake because it's not anything like pizza. It happens to use ingredients that pizzas are made of, but it's more like a casserole, and so it's in a deep dish. It can be quite big, depending on how size you get it, but like this high, the dish, right? They butter it, and then they put what's more like a quiche dough. So it's quite like a lard type of dough. So it's quite crunchy a little bit. And that's because then they fill it with tomato gravy, red sauce, and then bits of mozzarella and or whatever you order with it, like vegetables or pepperoni and bits and things like that. So that's basically what, and then they bake it, and so it comes out. You need to eat it with a fork and knife because it's just such a casserole.
Yeah, absolutely. That is, I would laugh at somebody trying to attempt to eat that without silverware for sure.
So what was your? How did you come away from that meal? How would you recommend it?
I would absolutely recommend it. I would also recommend definitely if you're eating for yourself and you're not like sharing one, just go ahead and get the personal size. You
Yes.
don't need a small. Like don't think that don't be the person who thinks you can put away a medium in a night. You won't be able to,
Yeah.
or if you do, I'm worried for your health.
It's 100%. It is filling as all get out. And Omnis is in the channel. He and I went to dinner there, and he's like, "Oh, should we get a large?" And we had a big party, so we did get a large. And he's like, "Okay, let me eat this." And then, the first one you hit, you eat down with gusto, no problems, man. This is delicious. The second one, you start slowing down a bit. You're like, "Ooh, maybe this is enough."
Absolutely. Big big slices. Me and my buddy Matt, who came up with me, we ended up having leftovers and were able to reheat it at the hotel we stayed at for
Oh, bonus.
breakfast one morning.
All right, cool. All right, so it sounds like you had a fun Saturday night. Nothing too crazy though. And Sunday morning, bright and early. Day two, top four.
Yep, Sunday, bright and early. We already knew our opponents before we left, so there was some consideration of kind of looking over what I knew Omnis, my next opponent, was going to bring, and we had kind of talked a little bit, and he told me about his terrible design of Proxima and Corvus with X-Men and the rude things he was doing, because I think he knocked out like 3 Avengers players during his run. So I was like, oh man, like I'm just number 4 to him. I'm just another number on the tally. So
Yeah.
uh, basically put some a little bit of thought into basically if I get priority, do I want extracts or do I want secures? And because we were
Would
very similar on the secures, I decided to go with my extracts.
would you have preferred not to know your opponent the night before?
You know what? That's a great question, and I don't know the answer.
The
Uh,
reason I'm asking is because before MCP, I used to play War Machine, but even earlier before that, I used to play competitive Warhammer Fantasy when that game was still around. And those events were usually 2-day events because each game took 3 hours. And um, I had the principle that I never wanted to know who I was facing game one the next day because at least the way I work, that only leads to me like trying to construct some sort of elaborate game plan in my head that often doesn't really reflect what then happens on the table, and then you just start second guessing yourself instead of playing out of like muscle memory.
mhm.
So I was just curious about that because that is something that only happens in games that have 2-day events and bigger events. And so yeah, and MCP is obviously there are a lot of like scripted plays that you can use, but you also don't really have to, especially not now with random crises. But I can really imagine like at least myself going over, okay, every crisis combo, what do I do? Given this.
Thankfully, I did not go down that down that rabbit hole. I will admit, and I'm still not sure because I never measured it out on an actual 3 by 3. But I was very curious because one of the things that I knew he was doing, because we sat down and had a nice big pretzel the day before, was some shenanigans where he would go with Corvus, pick up a cube or spider infected on the F objective maps, and then instantly activate Proxima, have her leapfrog with Storm's leadership, move long, grab the opponent's cube or the opponent's spider infected, and move back to safety. And I was kind of like, man, like I wonder if I get priority, if I can get Loki to the center objective in such a way that I can deny that play because Corvus would have to spend 2 to instantly activate Proxima. Thankfully, we didn't end up playing any of those objectives, so it didn't really end up mattering. But that was something that I tried to measure out, and it was super close, but definitely not close enough to say one way or another if it was going to be the right call.
All right, so tell us about the game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I ended up getting priority and went with my extracts because I wasn't sure if I could handle the 5 wide objectives that he was bringing, and we both had 2 of the same secures anyway, so I didn't feel like there was going to be too much of a chance of winning there one way or the other. So we ended up going with Montesi formula, and once again the spider portals at 18 threat, and it was a really close game. It came down really. The final score was 16-10, and it was interesting because for the first couple of turns, Omnis was not the aggressive player, even though he brought Corvus and X-23. He was playing for the objectives. He had a point up on me because I didn't realize that if you hop Corvus over somebody and double move, he gets to my objective on the D point, which I had left out in the open after securing it. So he was able to get a nice easy point there. And then we just kind of settled in for a brawl at different points. But Black Cat was kind of in this awkward position after rolling a skull. He had pushed her kind of back toward my board edge, wasn't in no man's land, didn't really need to activate her because I was either waiting for Storm and Black Panther to move off of a point so that she could go in and try to score it, or wait for Corvus to move off of my back point so that she could move in and score it. Because he was going to, I think he was giving me priority at that point, or no, I just had priority regardless. So there was going to be one of those 2 slots for her to slip out to. And then his storm made a couple of lightning bolt attacks to her and did the perfect amount of damage to give her 5 power, or I guess really just 4 power, which is enough for her to double move, get the grappling hook, and get a steal off. So I was able to steal away the last Montesi formula from his domino, and that was kind of a swinging point where suddenly he was put into this awkward position of needing to catch back up on the points. But it was a very near thing because if he had done 1 less damage, Black Cat wouldn't have had the power she needed to do all of that.
Right.
And on the other side, if Storm had gotten 1 more power, it would have meant 1 more damage, and Storm would have had enough power to do the throw and just daze Black Cat right there.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very interesting point. And I know he says later he kind of regrets it and wished that he had just saved the power for the throw. But if at the same time, if that roll goes either way, he just pushed his lead further. So it was a tough point and a very close and clean game by the both of us, I think.
Yeah, I think that one was on the stream as well, so people can watch that game. I know Omnis really enjoyed playing it. He thought it was a really tight game and really interesting as a result, so I don't think he was displeased at all about that. But it just goes to show you, those are gambles, basically. I think he was gambling to make sure that he takes out Black Cat, which isn't so hard, provided that you're in stealth range. And if that doesn't happen, though, you have to understand what the consequences are going to be. And in this case, they're quite dire.
Yeah. For sure.
But had he done that to you, it would have been a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, things. If he had just either thrown her away further, or I guess save the power for whatever else Storm ends up doing there, who knows? Black Cat would have been able to go over and flip the point that Corvus was on, because Corvus ended up moving further to my left, at least, where X-23 was, versus Steve and Voodoo. And yeah, it just everything at that point changes on.
Yeah. All right. So did you have a little time to kind of get the adrenaline out of your system before the next game, or was it right to it?
It was thankfully not right to it. We had like about a 30-minute break.
Good.
In which the professional network, professional casuals. Oh my goodness, the PCN had time to interview both me and Aaron, who was my final opponent. Kind of talk about our list, talk about our thought process, and how we had been doing up to that point. I guess, yeah.
Did you know Aaron England before this?
No, this is the opponent that I didn't know who I was making it into the top four. I've only got to meet him here. Wonderful guy though, very very cool.
Yeah, and I should mention the fourth one, even though we won't talk about that game. I'm trying to find the gentleman's name. Let's see.
It was Nick who I had. He was the criminal syndicate player I had beat the previous day, actually.
Okay, right on. And do you know where Aaron England is from?
I believe I know that he is in the same area, I think, as Vincent from. He's got his own YouTube channel and the Size 3 Alfredo.
Oh, okay, the Chicago guys then.
Right.
Yeah, Alfredo
Yeah.
truck guys. Yeah, from Chicago. Okay,
Yeah.
local.
I
You're
think he's,
beating the local boy on his home turf. You nasty.
I believe so, at least. I talked later to Vincent, and he mentioned that he knew him at least. So
right on. All right, so let's hear this match.
Yeah. So this one, oh man, he drew the Black Order invasion as the secure objective, and then the extraction objective was hammers.
Okay.
I think I ended up going priority. He picked the threat total. He picked 16, which basically, knowing that his roster was a split of Black Order and Midnight Suns, and he graciously, just talking about our games previously, let me know that he had played I think 3 Midnight Sun games and 2 Black Order games, or some split between them. So he was playing them both pretty evenly. But 16 is just one of those numbers that Black Order really likes.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of assumed that that's what I was going to be seeing. So I get to break out Loki, Captain America, Black Panther, and Iron Man versus his very traditional space Mind Gem Thanos, Reality Corvus, and Proxima.
Gotcha. Excellent. Okay. And how did things play out?
Absolute bath. I think this is a game where I more so wanted to prove that Loki was a good counter into Black Order, where I probably should have reasonably, especially since I suspected he was doing Black Order shenanigans on such a wide map, I should have brought in Bullseye and Luke Cage or something. But I didn't, so we had an absolute bloodbath of a game. And he had the unfortunate mistake on turn 1 where Thanos had space gemmed Corvus up onto the back point where the hammer was. Thanos continued to move up and just brought Black Panther into the middle of the map like a good Thanos does, because Loki was over on the side getting his own hammer. And then Corvus moved up and attacked, and only after attacking realized he didn't pick up the hammer.
Oh no.
Which was unfortunately, at that point, because dice were rolled, I didn't feel like I could let that take back happen.
Yep.
So he thankfully was able to get back to it very easily, just using the space gem the following turn with Thanos. But from there, it kind of just descended into an absolute bloodbath where Thanos dazed Panther, and so then Thanos suddenly had 2 hammers. Corvus dazed Steve before Steve got to activate. But then Corvus didn't get in range of Proxima, so I ended up with priority the next turn.
Wow.
So Loki double moves over to where Thanos is, mind gems him off the point, score some points there. And so after the absolute bloodbath on my side, I was like, cool, gotta return the favor. So I have priority. Loki has a hammer. Loki plays Blind Obsession onto Thanos.
Amazing.
So then my first activation, round 3, is Loki rolling 8 dice, counting blanks into Thanos. That pushes the first 6 damage through, and a subsequent blow finishes off the 2 remaining health that Thanos has.
Amazing. Wow. That must have felt so good.
It's one.
Fantastic. Like, Thanos is an absolute unit of a character in this game, so Loki being able to walk up and put a significant smackdown was it felt pretty good. That does also then, of course, leave Loki in a super vulnerable position, rolling 1 defense die for anything that Proxima or Corpse throws at him. Thankfully, I was able to use the symbol, Steve to within range of Loki, and kind of progress through the game there. I made an absolutely major mistake after a point where Steve had 4 damage on him on his injured side, so where his tanky. Black Panther was staying on the back point after dazing Proxima with 8 power, and I totally just get Max Steve, which results in a very dead Steve Rogers, the next activation. But all the while, we're both kind of grinding on the points, and this is one of those games that it literally just comes down to a couple of die rolls there at the end, in addition to some misplays from both of us. But it ended with his Thanos tries to kill Loki. Loki's fine because he's got the blind obsession. 5 dice counting blanks is a lot of good blocking potential.
Mhm.
So then it's down to Proxima and Iron Man left as activations. I need 3 points. Loki has 3 hammers on him currently. So Iron Man is able to move up, spend 2, because at this point Steve is resting in peace, or pieces, I guess, really, with Corvus. And spends 2 power for Friday AI, puts a 6 die repulsor blast into Proxima, which does the final 2 or 3 damage needed to daze her, and Loki scores exactly 16 points, holding the hammers.
Oh, what a tense moment. Amazing.
Yeah, because I do not think that Loki was likely to survive 2 5 dice attacks with a Pierce if Proxima did get to activate, since he was only rolling 1 defense die.
Right. This strikes
For
me.
games that cut at least like a week off your life expectancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Taylor up there on stage with us, kind of reporting back to the streamers, and he and I talked afterward, and he's like, "Man, that was stressful for me, and I wasn't even playing."
I know that feeling. I've done the same sort of thing when you're watching a game or reporting on it, and man, you feel the tension in the air. Um, I just want to mention that part of conventions is not only luck, like Huggy was saying, and good skill, obviously, but also it's a bit of an endurance test. You have to be on for lots of time, and it's hard to keep thinking sharply after that
Mhm.
many games.
That is one thing, especially after that game. The first game with Omnis was pretty clean. This one was like, man, there were mistakes that both of us made that were very obvious that we should have done.
Yeah, and that's going back to Huggy's for earlier point of view. It's not like TTS where you have a whole week to think through and maybe do some practice games against your opponent's roster. You need to see
Yeah.
whatever's in front of you and do so under fatigue conditions.
Yeah, you're not only playing the one game in one night a week.
Okay, I think we're going to let you go just in a minute, Nate. It's been wonderful talking to you about these interesting games that you're playing. What is your plans for what's next for you?
Let's see. I don't. The next big thing for me is going to be Gen Con that I know of. There's probably some local events that I'll get to go and participate in and all of that. But the next big one that I'm very excited for MCP is going to be NashCon, the event we're holding here in Nashville. We're very excited, and now we have Mike and Hank and some of the other guys from Adepticon who are wanting to come down for this.
Whoa!
Uh, yeah, and I'm just really excited to continue just building up this community both locally but also around the globe as much as we can. I'm so excited to see this game bouncing back after basically having to go dormant after all of 3 months of releases before COVID hit,
Yeah.
and we're coming out of the gate of this pandemic strong with 64 plus player events around the world, which is amazing.
Yeah. Is Gen Con running any MCP events of note?
They have not put out their schedule yet,
Hmm.
so it is something I'm keeping my fingers crossed for. I think it's also the first major event, other than maybe one of the Novas, that AMG themselves might actually be able to attend, because I know they blocked off the first quarter of this year as a no, we're not doing it. COVID numbers were spiking at the time.
Hmm.
So hopefully, with it being in this fall, we'll be able to see Pagani and Schick rolling some dice and stuff.
Yeah. And how can people get tickets to NashCon?
NashCon tickets are going to go on sale next month. If you keep your eye on the Facebook page or any of the discords related to Marvel Crisis Protocol, Gronko and I will be screaming it from the rooftops. So you'll be able to find links to those there.
Wonderful. Well, this has been a distinct pleasure. Nate, you're such a gentleman. I was so happy to meet you there after watching your videos. And you certainly look like you're having a great time, even before the big event. Um, but why don't you flex a little bit? Show us the medal. Come on.
Uh, if I can run downstairs and grab them real quick, I absolutely will do that. They've uh, come
That's
out with
okay.
me.
That's okay. I'll
Um,
just go ahead and show you mine instead.
Now I do want to.
Smooth
I want
crossover, Norbert.
to. I do want to brag on you for a moment, though, because it was great to meet you. You recognized who I was, and I was like, oh, I think this is Norm. You come over, you give me a big hug, which is just a fantastic greeting, and it was great to meet you. But one of the things that really impressed me is I was getting to watch the end of your game in the team tournament against Omnis and Chewy.
Right.
And Chewy and Omnis had a couple of discussions, and ultimately Omnis made a play that Chewy wanted to go the other way with, and the play that they made didn't end up working for them. I wasn't there for the whole thing, so I don't know which way I would have gone. Chewy was getting a little tilted. He was a little bit upset. But you and is it Gil? I
Yes,
believe you were
that's right.
playing with.
Yep.
You guys go over there and give them some hugs, and it was just like what a fantastic moment of sportsmanship, and what a great example for this entire community. To have for a game where people are getting competitive, they're playing to make it to the finals table. So kudos to you, and thank you for being such a fantastic example to this community as well.
Well, it's super nice of you to say, Nate. That it really warms my heart, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's great when we have this kind of a community, and to remember that we're playing games and meant to be having fun with each other. To me, it's almost more just an excuse so that we can get together and have drinks and share a meal later on after the game is over.
Yeah, one of my friends shared a quote of any day that I get to go and play games, even on the worst of those days, is still a day that's better than me going into work.
Yeah, we need to get some bumper stickers made up with that. All right, Nate, thank you again. It was lovely to have you. Good luck with getting everything ready for NashCon. I'm certain it's going to be a massive success.
Yeah, hope to see you there next year, right?
Yeah, me and Huggy need to come out.
We would
That would
love
be
to have you
awesome.
guys. Love to have you guys. Thank you again so much for having me on, and congratulations on doing so well in the events that you played in. By the way,
Thank you so much.
Mr. Humble over here.
We're about to get into that now, Nate. So thank you so much. We're going to let you go because we're going to get Gil in from Denmark, and he's going to join us to talk about that very next event that you just mentioned. So take
All
care.
right, take care, guys.
Bye.
Take care, Nate.
All right, let me get Gil from Denmark. He's standing by. Let's see how to do this. Here we go. Add friends. I hope this works. There he is. And there we go. Let's see, did that add him? Oh, looks like we might have
See,
been able to do it. if this works, I'm going to feel very professional. Let's see. He's just rigging though, sadly. How'd you enjoy that, Huggy?
That was such a gentleman and such an interesting. I'm really happy for him, and I'm really happy seeing him win with in the way he did, and with the roster that he played. Like I said, I'm all about the cinemasticity and combined with competitiveness and striking. I think he really struck the balance.
Yeah, he was great. It was a real pleasure to see him there. I hadn't realized he was coming out, actually. It's also super nice that he was first time there, just like it was for me.
Mm.
Okay, here he is. Gil, hey, can you hear us all right?
Yes, I hear you fine. I feel fine. Can you see me, or do I need more light on?
I think if you have another light, it would be great. Otherwise, we can manage. Oh, yeah, that's much better. Good job.
Fantastic.
All right, everybody, I want to introduce you to Gil. Gil is a good friend of mine from the War Machine days. We were both press gangers, meaning so like the organized play coordinators. He was also on the Danish WTC team and has done a lot of community building work out there. And I have to say that he, despite living in Denmark for all his life, I'd imagine, he's actually been to Adepticon before me. Do you want to tell us when you started going and how many times it was before this?
Yes, I went for the 2019 Adepticon as the Nordic champion for Imperial Assault, and also qualified for the Armada.
Mm-hmm.
The first one I went for, it was just the Imperial. No, there was both of them, Imperial Assault and Armada. That was my second Worlds in Imperial Assault. The first year I was at the FFG headquarters.
Wow.
Made the top 16 and got killed by the double champion, so that was that. Then I went to Adepticon and played Armada, and because of stress from work, my boss kept bothering me, calling me. I couldn't focus and got knocked out in round one. Well, didn't make the cut in either of them, so just enjoyed the rest of it, looking around and having fun.
Yeah.
So that was good. I was like, yeah, I'm definitely coming back to this. Was gonna go in 2020, and then yeah, shit happened, and that was the year I was actually scheduled to go to 7 or 8 international events, including the WTC, where I was my first year as part of the committee. So I didn't have to play. I had to organize. And then, Wales, Ontario, in Canada, and all kinds of stuff. And then, yeah. And that went from 7 international tournaments to 1 local with 6 guys in Denmark.
I know, it was pretty brutal. So
it was like, yeah.
Let me get this straight. Yeah. How many Adepticons was it then before this that you went to?
Just one, because the second one got canceled, unfortunately.
Okay. So you're European, obviously. Why don't you talk a bit to the other Europeans who are listening to this? Give them the European perspective of what an American convention is like.
Ooh, it's great. Just don't do the mistake I did this year and sign up for tournaments all 4 days, because you get like your lunch break, which is somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes, depending on how fast you finish your game. So you go and look at the shops, and you go into the shopping area with shopping, demo gaming, and all kinds of cool stuff. Then you like, I need 30 minutes in every single booth, and there's 25 of them, and I got 30 minutes. So you run over and get the stuff you need to get. Talk to the 2 guys you may know are there, or look at the one thing you need to check out. And if you play a tournament every day, that's like maybe you get 4 visits to 1 booth, and you're thinking, oh, I need to see this, I need to, oh, that's cool, oh, I didn't see that. So for me, next year, maximum 3 days of gaming, 1 day dedicated to just going around, looking at stuff, buying stuff, just talking to people, and all kinds of, maybe even get some random demo gaming or people playing board games. Because, I mean, I walked from my gaming area through the shopping area and went past tables where there was just people putting up board games and other stuff, and if they weren't playing, they just left their stuff there. Nobody touched it. Walk off to the shops, get their stuff, come back, their jackets, their clothing, bags, all game, it was still there, untouched. And I love that. And that's how it is. But you just need that extra time.
I
agree.
For
me, that was my only regret this year, not having a whole day to look at stuff.
It's a classic era, and I think every rookie at American Con makes it, honestly. So they like, oh, I'm going to get my money's worth, I'm going to be playing, blah, 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 blah. And they play, and you can play almost 24 hours. And some cons are over 24 hours. And then they say to themselves, well, that was really great, but man, I missed so much that I could be doing. And the next year, they come for maybe one tournament, and instead, it's all about the socializing, discovering new things, meeting people. You have to understand in American conventions, we're blessed in that the convention area where you're playing all this stuff is often attached to the hotel, or else
Yeah.
if there's an overflow hotel, it's just a shuttle bus with a 5-minute ride. So the point is you're in a cocoon. I tell it to my coworkers, like
Yeah.
the real life people, like you are completely cut off from the real world, and it's nothing but nerddom around you, and it's just such a exhilarating and you just feel so insulated from everything and just having happiness around you.
Oh yeah, it's like it's a one big family. Anybody, I mean, I could stand in a line for food, or look at a shop, or turn to the person next to me, and one of us would just talk to the other, and they respond. I stand there, I make a comment to somebody, they respond to me. Or I'm standing at somebody's and they're asking something or saying something, and then especially I go all the way from Denmark. You flew all the way from Denmark away? Yeah, it was great. How long? It was a 3.5 and a 6.5 flight.
Mm.
And then it's like, oh, that's yeah, and it's just wow. And you came all for that? Yeah, I love it. It's my second time, and anywhere you go, people are just happy to talk to you and answer questions, and
Yeah.
everybody wants to show their stuff. Oh, what are you playing? Or what are you playing? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I heard about that game. Oh, we're doing this. Oh, how will you? Oh, I'm 3-1. Oh, I'm 2-1, and I'm going to find. Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got that everywhere. It was good fun, and the staff is funny and hilarious. I mean, oh, I met different staff from the Adepticon and Boots, and I mean, some of them could do stand-up comedy, I think.
The
It was
only
good.
part that we didn't mention just yet, which is an aspect of it, is also the painting competitions that are typical at these big conventions. And so
Yeah, I missed that,
oh,
unfortunately.
okay, yeah, they had big glass cases with lit lights in them, so you could really see the models, and they had a massive competition, and so you can see these beautiful pieces. They're artwork. They're absolutely
Oh, yeah,
artwork.
yeah. I mean, I saw them in 19. I actually had a chance to go around and look at some of the Golden Demon, and I was like, wow, that's like Golden Demon in UK. I mean, when I worked for Games Workshop, I mean, I could walk behind and watch, so it's easy to look at the stuff. But some of the stuff you got close to here was like, yeah, I mean, it's the same.
Hmm.
And even some of the boots with people, I mean, the stuff, the the models made for demos, some of them was like, wow, that's not tabletop standard. They've got their top painter doing this, and they say, yeah, just touch and play with him. You're like, okay, just check my hands are clean, and then
Let's get to it.
yeah. I was like, wow, it's yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you gotta leave 1 or 2 days. Gotta leave at least minimum one, and if you don't have like games you really want to play, I mean, I would even go take 2 days, and then one of the days you might just pick up half a day of some fun games, because this pickup game. I mean, you and me both. We got the battle pass, so we could have had free pickup Marvel Crisis games all 4 days. I didn't use it because I was playing in tournaments all 4 days.
Mhm.
But I could have caught a tournament out, and then I could have just spent from 10 to 6 looking at shops, and 6 hours I could have gone over and gone pickup games. Because if you notice the table around where we were sitting, there was guys playing everyday pickup games. They would go and ask if they get an Infinity, one of the organized play kits, play
Right.
with, or
Right.
they just play games.
Right.
And that's what all the games, people playing in tournaments, and then there might be 10 people just playing just for fun
Yeah.
on the road right behind it, where it was vacant. Okay, there's 32 tables for this tournament. They're using 20 of them. Okay, some people are playing the other 12.
Yeah, there's so many people
So
around. You just have to look up and say, "Do you want to play a game?" That's literally all
yeah,
you have to say. And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna say like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it," because they've been waiting for you to say that, basically.
yeah. I mean, I played the first day the Infinity League instead of the draft What's If, which in retrospect I find that was really funny. So maybe if that comes up again, I'm gonna try that.
Hmm.
But in the Infinity League, he said just play 3 games, which is a bit funny because that means you don't use the third bonus, because you get a bonus after every game. But after my 3 games, I met a guy who'd only played 2 games in the league and he couldn't find. But I said, yeah, fine, I'll just haven't put my third bonus in, so I just don't. So we play on equal footing, and we played a third game, so he can get his 3 games in. And then everybody, we got the cards, because if you played at 1 day of whatever,
Mhm.
you go and get the alternate cards. That was the thing for MCP.
Yep.
Um,
Those were
but you
awesome.
just, yeah, I mean, yeah, like nobody said, somebody needed a game. I was there. He asked me. I was like, yeah, why not? Let's play. It's great fun. It meant I got a Ford game in on the first day.
All right.
Shops are already closing. So.
Yeah. So because we were both coming in from Europe, I found out Gil was coming. So we decided to join together into a very interesting team event. And Huggy, I'm going to go ahead and link the. Oops, that's the wrong link. I have the link to the rules. It's a PDF that they did. And
Excellent.
yeah, and we could take a look at that. Everybody who's in the chat can go ahead and
Yeah,
take a look at that.
I'm actually really curious about this two-man team system. Could you give me the rundown of that?
You want to do Norbert, or you want me to do?
Why don't you go ahead? Well, actually, no.
Okay.
I'll do it because you're going to probably remember the games better than I will.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So I'm looking here. Let me get this into a better position. All right. So it's mostly a normal game. Okay. The difference is that you're a team of 2 people. So it'd be me and Gil. Each team member brings a roster of 7 models each and 5 tactic cards each. And then the combined team brings 3 secures and 3 extracts like normal. The other thing that's different about it is that the crisis card's maximum threat value is increased by 6. So if you are putting down a card that's, say, 20 and another card is 14, that means you're either playing 20 points or 26 points, okay? Other than that, you have to build the squad where one player selects models equal to half the threat value, plus or minus 2, and the remaining player selects models to make up the difference. Each player then selects 3 tactics cards from each of their own piles and forms the combined team tactics cards of 6. So 6 tactics cards. So it was really kind of interesting because you not only had to find characters that could work together, but you also had to do it in such a way that each of you are contributing the right amount to make it a legal list.
All right. So was it considered one list with one leader, or was it effectively 2 teams on the same side?
No, it would still be one list. So after you put your list together, you had to work out which affiliation you could play. And we had Avengers with me and Criminal Syndicate with Norbert, who's done the tactical clever thing of putting Taskmaster in. So it was easy for us to go either way.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that. What would your considerations when constructing your rosters for this?
Well, Norbert had a funny idea first because he was thinking about playing Dormammu, and he would bring Dormammu and a couple of guys, and I would just bring something that would complement it, and then we were like, easy, we just played Dormammu.
Yeah.
But then he wanted to play his Criminal Syndicate, and so not to bring too many models, we can make that work. Because if we're playing into Secures that's good for Criminal Syndicate, we play Criminal Syndicate, Norbert takes most points, and I just add some models.
Yeah.
And if we play Avengers, he can always make up the difference with Taskmaster, and then we just pick whatever was best. And I would just only bring my Avengers models, and Norbert would just fill up.
Yeah, so basically Gil was bringing more aggressive type of characters, and I was bringing more defensive type of characters. But because of the Taskmaster thing, we were able to flex either direction. So it worked out really well.
So how did you make considerations for the crises given that?
Same thing. I picked all the secures because those are the ones we want for Criminal Syndicate, and we took all the ones that Gil likes for his Avengers team for extracts.
Yeah.
So,
And we thought that
basically, yeah.
Yeah, go on.
So basically, depending on whether you had prio or not, and whether you were given extract or secures, was sort of the determinator of which affiliation you would go for.
Yeah, it had a lot of. I mean, the first game we played Criminal Syndicate because I think we won priority anyway. I think we won all the priorities, even though we didn't want to. But they picked Secures. They were so good for Criminal Syndicate. We thought we had to go with that. Yeah, we didn't want to win priority because then we could always go to big points because part of my list was the Hulk. And if we're going to bring big guys in, we wanted to go for 26 points. Luckily, most of the time we had high threats, and they went with a high one. So we had quite a few games with 26 points, except for the final. We only went for 23 in the final.
So I suppose 20 points would minimum then.
Yeah.
If it's yeah.
Yeah. So we knew every game you would pick from well, you would have 8 to 15 points for every game as each player to pick from. And most of our games, we would have to pick between 11 and 13, 11 and 15 points. And then it just depended on with the amount of characters we needed for. I think we only played Criminal Syndicate in the first, and then we played the last 4. We played Avengers because they always took secures that just wouldn't benefit Criminal Syndicate.
As it turned out, I think we
So
played
how many-
the same combination of Crises, like 3 games in a row too, didn't we?
Yeah. The first one we played Alien Ship, and then Demons, and then the game 2, 3, 4 we played Alien Ship and Infinity Formula, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then in the final we played something completely different.
So how
So
many
that-
rounds was it? Remind me.
5 rounds.
Yeah, we played
5 rounds. Oh
Yeah.
man. So
4
six.
for the 4, and then a 5th round for the final game only.
Yeah. So
So-
we started at I think it was 8:30, and we didn't finish till 11:30 at night. It was a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, it was because when there was 20 minutes left, we were told there was 20 minutes left, but the referee, he was fine to just play, sit there until we played out. We asked our opponent. He was really tired, and he was ready to quit. He said he was dying.
Yeah.
But then he came, like, I think he looked at the table and was like, no, we can do this. They were behind by 3 points, and we're in a better position. But I think he made a plan and go, no, that's okay. Let's just play through.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he was
yeah,
he was struggling. He was,
he was struggling.
yeah.
But
still-
yeah, and then we ended up playing an hour and a half overtime.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a bit long, but we took a couple of breaks because of that. You know, he needed to, well, not him only, all of us needed a little bit of time to do it. So it was a little bit longer than I think, but it's still, I think if you took away some of those breaks, it would have been like pretty much like a normal, like, well, slightly longer game, but nothing crazy.
No, I think if you took some breaks away, we'd have only played maybe 40 minutes over a maximum.
Yeah.
Instead of 90 minutes. So it's also we had the whole we were playing with the Twin Jet, and unfortunately it was loose on the base. So every time you walk around the stage, everything's moving a bit, and that would shake, and we had to put the Crisis on top of it and back in place, and pick up models and put them back in place. And you couldn't sneeze at that table. I think we had to adjust almost every round. We had to adjust anything on the Twin Jet, because it was moving around a bit. So we're like, woohoo! Don't move anything. And yeah, so it was quite fun. But the Twin Jet's lovely. But yeah, I think we all came to the conclusion in the future, the Twin Jet's just standing there looking beautiful. It's
hard to
don't
play
play
with.
on it unless you stick it on the base. Make sure it's not moving, because.
But
And
even
then you
then,
probably
it kind of has a curve to it, so it's hard to put stuff.
Yeah.
But it looked too cool. We wanted to put people, because people kept jumping on it and falling and jumping off of it and stuff. So it was really cinematic. It felt like the airport scene in the Infinity War film.
Yeah, it was good. And we're like, we both had a Hulk in the final, and we weren't allowed to throw the play. Actually, we played 2 games with the Twin Jet.
Yeah.
And both games, my Hulk one is a throw. It's like, it's a size 4 non-interactable terrain piece.
Yeah.
We're like, but we want to throw it. Come on. Yeah, no, you can't. No. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So did you end up like agreeing on most of your moves, or were there a lot of discussion on what? Because I assume that you sort of discuss most of your moves, so what the game plan is, and adapt it across the course of the game, given events on the table.
We had like a rhythm, I thought, Gil. I don't know what you
Yeah.
thought, but it was basically, we had a basic idea when we're setting up the game. But after
Yeah.
that, I would try to, I don't know if you knew this, but I was looking at the big picture, like trying to think ahead, seeing where things were going. And Gil was really, really good at figuring out who should be activating next, and the basic thing that they needed to do based on the plan. So he would be kind of running most of the stuff on the table. It turns out he also typically had 1 or 2 more characters than I did, so he's doing more of the work. And I would whisper in his ear, and we'd confer about like what we're trying to do next, or what was the purpose, like a bit more of a strategy thing, which was great because my hands were shaking the whole day because of the adrenaline.
Yeah, no, it definitely. I mean, a lot of time, as Norbert said, we kind of had an idea, and we would talk about it in the beginning of the game, that kind of doing the deployment was like, okay, so you need to go and do this, and then just run away, and I'm gonna go there and try and kill him and get the points, and this is her role, this is that role, and that role. Because I mean, I had in most games, I had Hulk in all the games, Captain America, all by the first game, and then it would be like Voodoo,
Black Cat.
or Vision, depending on the game,
Vision,
other stuff,
yeah.
and Hawk in some of the games. So I was definitely going to do a lot of the damage. Norbert was doing a lot of tactic. If he could run, I mean, Black Cat and stuff like that, just run away with point extracts and run away. Sometimes we would confirm because okay, do that. Okay, so what we had a quick chat. Okay, we need to do this and this, and then it wouldn't necessarily be me and Norbert telling the other one, you need to do this, and it's like, okay, this is what needs to be happening. What can you do? And say, okay, I got it. And no, I'll do it this way. Okay, because Norbert knows his rules on his models better than me, even though I know him, but he's played them. And the same for me. So we just need to work out, this is what we need to happen. We need to get this happening, and who can do it best. Sometimes be like, I got this and this, I got this. See, if Micah can do this, oh, then you got it.
Yeah.
And then Norbert would go and do it because he had the model and the know-how to do it better than me. So that would be back and forth, exactly.
I would say the other thing.
Was it hard keeping secrets from your opponents?
No.
Nah, you turn around from the table and whispered, and they were sitting, because you're across the table, you walk one step back, turn your back to them.
It's noisy too.
Yeah, and it's noisy, and nobody was trying to listen. I mean, you just basically, sometimes we would just be like,
yeah,
yeah, and that was it, and they wouldn't hear, and then we turn back and say, oh yeah, okay, yeah, we got it, and so yeah, on the left side, all right, so yeah, it's okay.
The thing that I think I added was that I just realized now is when Gil would be doing stuff, I was looking at the table and just seeing what were they going to do next, or what was going to happen next. So I was able to try to think ahead as it and not worry about what was happening on the table. I literally didn't know sometimes until he was finished and told me what happened, or I saw what happened. I wasn't following those details because I was looking at the table and thinking about what's going to happen next. What are they going to try to do instead, or what we needed to do in that next step. And that was, I think, really helpful, because then I would confer with that with Gil, and then he would just execute.
Yeah, sometimes one of us be looking. Norbert's doing some things, and I can see, okay, they're getting ready to do that, and it's like, okay, for next round, because they get like, this happens, like they're definitely gonna go. What at the end of the round, some of the time we could go, okay, Norbert, at the end of the round we're gonna be 2 points up, so if we can, we just need to run away now, and we need to kill this one guy and then just withdraw, or we need to go after them because they're gonna go 1 point up, but they're in a bad position. We got priority, so we need to work out what do we do in the next round. What's gonna start. And it could be Norbert who comes up with a great idea, or me who's seen something, and then we'll confirm that we both agree that this was the right move. And then whoever was activating the model knew, okay, now we know what to do. Then the other one didn't have to just go and do it. And then sometimes, oh, by the way, I got this. You remember, because you could use all 6 tactics cards above, across the whole team. So sometimes we remind each other, oh, remember, we got this one. You need to do it for that one.
Yes.
And then there was the one time where we both forgot, and
yeah. So that probably cinched that last game, sadly. But
it did, unfortunately.
Yeah. So
that my miscalculation last round. Yeah.
Tell me a bit about those games.
Okay, I'll give you the best 3 games. That's game 3, 4, and 5. Because game 3 was can't remember the name of the guys, but they were super friendly. They've been playing for a bit, maybe not as long as us, but they definitely knew their stuff. And we got pressured a lot. By the end of that game, we were mentally drained. We thought, oh man, this is. I don't think we were at no point in the game we were in full control. It was, we might have been 1-2 point ahead at some point, but it was all the time they were
fighting hard.
They were they were playing hard, and they were pushing us to get in better position. And we just managed to keep just holding ourselves position and point wise ahead. So in the end, we cinched out. I can't remember all the detail, but it was an amazing. And by the end of the game, both me and Norbert were like, we're mentally drained. We was like, our brains were mush. It was like, we don't know what's going on. But it was like, we're 3-1, 3-0, and we're like, yeah, we're not even going to talk about it. We're not even going to tell anybody how this is going. We're just going to, because we don't want to jinx it. Yeah. Things are going well. We're like 3-0 was like none of us thought this was going to happen. At that point, I think we only thought there was going to be 4 rounds. And then Game 4 came up, and we were playing Charles Aerosmith and Antonio Portuguese.
Yeah. So that's
And
Omnis and Chewie.
yeah, and we knew they were super players.
Oh, I thought
And
it was
Charles
over.
Omnis,
I was so
yeah,
salty at the beginning of the game. I was so salty.
but it was so funny because when we started in the morning to put a team up, Omnis came over and was like, Avengers and and Criminal Syndicate, you know, you gotta need to do affiliation stuff. And so, yeah, don't worry, bro, we got it. It's all planned out. And he was like, I was like, he came, I was like, what? He's like, yeah, we know. I mean, you know, there's, you know, certain we don't have to bring all the models from. There's ways around this. But he did say something, but
he didn't see Taskmaster in the list is the problem.
no, and it was like, yes, don't worry, we got this. We're cool. And then we got to play him. I was like, we're mentally drained. They're really good. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be tough. In round 2, I said to Norbert, because Norbert, he just stood there like a zombie.
Yeah.
And round 2, I said to Norbert, I got kind of a plan, but I'm mostly going on instinct. And Norbert said to him, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just moving models. And then, but luckily for us, they started to. There's 2 strong personalities.
Well, hold on. So the point is, the filthiest list that you could possibly build is what they brought. It was disgusting. Yeah. It was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, that was the first week we started the game. We just going.
What list was that?
It was.
Oh, he had the. What was it? His was that his X-Men?
Yeah.
Black Order bullshit.
Yes. Yeah, they brought Brotherhood and Corvus and Proxima with them.
Yeah.
So Magneto.
Oh, yeah, that was on this list. It was
It was just killing and terrain throwing and
yeah,
you know, and so we weren't playing criminals.
Criminals yeah, it was like no, it was yeah, and even I mean it was basically a mix of good and bad guys, but anything that just worked good together and just enough to fill up affiliation. Of nasty Brotherhood with anything else killy stuck in there, they can just move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, this just looks like,
grinder.
Yeah, I was like, oh, they're gonna kill us. But then luckily, the 2 strong personalities started arguing about they weren't because they thought they were gonna roll over us, and we played very tactically against them, and just we got ahead by 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had an argument of what to do, and I was standing there on my side because Charles Omnis wanted to do one thing, Chewie wanted to do the other thing, and I was like, no, go with Omnis because Chewie had the right idea. If he does that, they don't equal the points, but they have priority next round, and they're gonna be in a perfect situation to murder us, take the points, and get ahead.
Yeah. So let me. This is like the one game I actually do remember because I rarely do. The thing was he had Corvus and Proxima and a decent amount of people on one side of the table. And we didn't have, and he had Magneto and Toad on the other side of the table, but closer to us, right? But nobody could find the scroll, naturally. Or was it Alien Ship? I can't remember. One of those 2.
Yeah, Alien Ship, yeah.
Alien Ship. And
works the same way.
So,
more or less.
So we send Hulk up onto the Brotherhood side, but on their side of the table, and look for the skull, and nobody found it for like 13 attempts. And he rolls a double crit and finds the the shit core. He finds the core, and it's Hulk holding the core all by himself.
And not even that, they've already used the asteroid, so they couldn't just run and jump to the other side.
They used Asteroid M, and Corvus and Proxima are way the hell over there playing around with Captain America.
Yeah. Yes, they wanted to. They had one model. Who was it that could? It wasn't Black. It was somebody you could get over. They wanted to use extreme measures to get a long move and get over.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Charles wanted to do. Chewie wanted to do to get the model over to next round. Just run up and steal. Oh, that was Voodoo to put the. Wasn't it Voodoo to put Brother Daniel on? But they wanted to move long, get him in a position.
Yeah.
And Charles said, but we can't get him. We're behind. We're gonna try and do this and do something here. And I was like, yeah, go with Charles because that means Hulk is just going to run away. You can't do anything. You're not going to catch him next round. I mean,
yeah, because that was our plan. Our plan. Well, we actually sat on the point because nobody could touch us, so we got extra points for that. But after that, our goal was just to run Hulk the hell away. You know.
Yeah, kill anything that came close and just keep running. I mean, Hulk is one of the fastest models in the game, even though people don't think it. But so I mean, he's so fast, and even without Avengers Assembly, he's super fast. So they went, and he's like, they kept arguing in the end because they argue so much. Chewie just went, oh, I don't care. Do what you want. And then they agreed on not moving him over. And I was like, okay, but you have priority. You have priority. You can do something. You just, because he was spending the power he had. He had 5 power on Voodoo. So he needed 1 more to go and steal it. But if he just double moved over, then next turn he had priority. He would get the 1 power. And then he would put Brother Daniel on Hulk, take the thing, and run away. And he's like, no, but we don't have. So he used to put Brother Daniel on our vision so he couldn't contest the point. And then he wanted to use extreme measure to move long over and get ready. So by next turn he stood over there, he had 2 power. So he had to generate 4 power before he could steal it.
Yeah,
and then he, then he even, because then he started, and then he wanted to kill our Voodoo on our side because he could do so much damage. So he started by doing that, and then was like, okay, Hulk is going to run away.
Yeah.
You kill
So
our Voodoo.
what happened is that exactly what their game plan was. I mean, I'll give credit to Omnis. He had a safer plan in mind, right? But all of it had to work properly, and it almost did, because while Hulk was there trying to not get attacked, meanwhile the rest of their team just murdered the rest of us. We had no characters left, and like all in one turn, boom, 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 all one down, which is what exactly we expected to happen. But we expected that to happen in like turn 1 or 2, not in turn 4 or 5. So yeah, we were able to pull it off. We were able to get all the points in because they couldn't take down Hulk in time.
Because on that side, I mean, they took down Voodoo, so he wasn't a threat. He did have a lot of power. He could do a lot of damage. So they took him down. I think they took Cap down as well. But then there was only 2 points on that side. The 2 Infinity protocols. So they could take them, but then we took 4 points on the other side, and we're already ahead. And then we just ran away from that point, and then realized too late, and they couldn't move over.
Yeah.
So I mean, I even told Charles right after the game, I said, I'm so happy that you had those 2 big discussions, that one and one before, and they went with your idea and not Chewie's idea, because I think that won us the game. And they were actually arguing about it for the whole con. Every time he came up, they were arguing about it again. I talked to Charles on the Sunday. He says, Anthony's still going on. They're still going on about it.
Well, it was a big break. I mean, it stopped them from progressing, because that was game 4. So everybody finished at that point, and so game 5 we went back up on the streaming table because we streamed 2 games up there, and I was shaking my hands just from the adrenaline, and I had nothing to eat all day. I thank God the Star Wars guys had a big bowl of granola bars, so I had like a granola bar. It was intense. But we were getting into a really good rhythm, I thought, and that made a huge difference. We're in a massive rhythm. Because we kept playing almost intuitively about how we wanted to do things. The last game was against 2 guys from Minnesota. I think one of them definitely was a War Machine guy, and the other I'm not sure, but maybe. And they were playing another filthy list, not quite as filthy, but filthy, which was Midnight Suns and what else did they have? Midnight Suns mostly, and then Voodoo, Black Cat, and Ghost
Hulk.
Spider. They had a lot more control, and Hulk. It was 2 Hulks.
And Hulk in.
Yeah.
So they had so basically in Midnight Suns with Hulk, that's almost like having Avengers Assemble every turn.
Yeah.
But they don't have the cheap jump, but they have the bump every turn.
Yeah.
So Hulk is super fast
with that
in
pace
as well.
So
that's up.
We played. It was what was it? The extracts. It was Cosmic Cubes, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why that's important is that we had priority and we got cubes. So I told Gil, I said, Gil, we are not going to outlast them. They're going to murder us again. So we said, let's get Hulk in the middle. And we placed him last. So he was in the middle, and then he grabbed the cube and ran away. That was his job. And everybody else was there.
That was basically a whole plan. We're just looking, which side are they going heavy on? Hulk's going to run up. His first move, run up, take the middle one, and run to the opposite side of their Hulk and Blade.
Yeah.
Which we did.
I put it was the Senators was the secure. So I controlled one with Taskmaster and Lizard, and then we put Voodoo and Black Cat and one of your guys.
Yeah, on the other side, because they didn't take it. We were ready to run everything to one side and just go, we'll take 3 secures, three extracts, and then run over to the secure on one side, and then they can have 2 and 1,
Right.
and we'll go 2 points up every 1 point up every turn.
Yeah.
But then when they were trying to move in and chase and fighting with stuff in the middle, they left our left side secure, and they didn't take it. We're like, okay, we're gonna take the 2 points and go 3 points up in early on, because I mean, as I said to Norbert, we put Voodoo up here, we get the points. If they start next round and kill Voodoo, I mean, first of all, the Hawk is going to that side. They'll daze Voodoo, and next turn he'll just run away. But then we're up the points, and the Hawk is away, so we don't care. Unfortunately, not Greg, but Greg. Was it Greg and Brett?
Greg and Brett. That's right.
Yeah, but he was kind of like the leader team. He didn't fall for it. So you had Hulk in the middle, and then he just like, okay, next turn he started. Okay, he's like, we need to catch this. After he realized, okay, I'm gonna play it out, he just started running Hulk towards our side. Like, okay.
What it all came down to was we were ahead the entire game, all game.
Yeah.
Turn 5 came around and we made one tactical error, which really sucked because we actually talked about it and then just forgot to execute it, which was, that really kind of stunk. So everybody's now gathering over on our senator side, right? And the problem was Ghost Spider finally came into the picture, and we had Mark for Death available to us. And so what happened is she came forward, knocked us out of the way, picked up an extract that was lying there, and then did her second long move to like the far corner of the board. Okay, because she could move along. Had we put Mark for Death on her like we had thought to, she would have been only to be able to move short and not get to us to do that attack, and then be able to do she'd still be able to do the long, right? Because
no, she didn't do the attack. Somebody dropped the extract before. So all she needed to do was do a long move, pick it up, and move away.
Yeah.
So if we remember to do the Mark for Death, she could only do 2 short moves, get to the extract, and stand there.
Yeah.
In between 3 of our guys.
That's what it was.
So we go like, okay, somebody kills her, pick it up, and run away before the Hulk come. And then whoever has the cube would just run away. And then, then we could have a fight over there and just ignore it or run over and take the other point and just run away with 3 extracts.
Yeah.
Which was the plan. That situation, especially holding a senator, she becomes really, really squishy.
Yeah. So it's
yeah.
It was a bit of a we messed that one up.
But we almost did it, because then we got clever with Voodoo, and we were getting his. We put Voodoo, Brother Nathaniel, on his Black Cat. And so Black Cat couldn't come and steal our cubes on the other side of the table, and so suddenly we're playing on the Twin Jet side of the table, trying to just hold on in time.
Yeah. Well, one of the mistakes, and I forgot to check the rule, and actually, Omnis was sitting on the stream and he was trying to correct it, but we just stressed a bit again, because Dr. Wood has already put Brother Daniel on Hulk, so basically Hulk was just a big brute running around doing nothing but killing people, but you couldn't pick anything up. And then Voodoo runs to the other side, and Norbert's song was, okay, we can't let him get the 2 points here, because in the last round was like, we need to score 2 points to win, and make sure they don't score more than 6, because it was 14-9.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we got this. I said to him, we've got this. No matter what, we won.
Yeah.
And I worked Matt out a little bit wrong, because
all Voodoo had to do was survive is the problem.
Yeah, we were running out of the things. I realized we were running out of extracts. I was hoping we could run away with 2, but Hulk killed too many, and he managed to pick some of them up with some other guys. And then so what we do is he has Black Cat on his sister, so Voodoo puts that over, but we realized I don't have to recall it. I just paid the 3 and put it on Black Cat. And then when Black Cat wanted to attack me, because Voodoo had 1 extract, then when she attacks me, we were down into, okay, I probably need to recall Brother Daniel, so I don't die. Then he could do the I steal the thing from you, but then we go on 15-15, because we still have points, and he had Blade to deny us scoring in the middle, but we had Black Cat as well, so we could do a 15-15. We would still have Voodoo to kill Black Cat or Blade and score the points. But we got a bit stressed, and I realized too late I should have recalled him. I had the power to it, and we just rolled the 2 dice against her, and she did 2 attacks, killed me, and hooked her away. Black Cat ran in, and then Blade could move up because he kept his climbing gear. So he did 2 moves and climbing gear, got up to the point.
Yes, he had the damn climbing gear card, and that really blew it because
And
we thought
I
we'd
realized,
save.
I actually realized we had that one as well. We also forgot to play that. We could have run away with some guys. So we did actually three mistakes. I miscalculated points we could get, so we needed to survive. I thought we were going to win either way, but then they had a healthy Blade that could run up and contest with our healthy Black Cat.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, they do have healthy characters left.
Yeah.
And it's like, he can't make it. And he did double move, jump, climbing gear. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And just made it on. And we're like, oh, okay. So then we go 15-15. We only had Black Cat and Lizard left. Lizard had taken 1 damage. He stood in next to the whole team. And Black Cat was looking at Blade. I mean, Blade's going to murder her, and he did. Black Cat, Norbert rolled the best he could. And then Blade took a couple of damage. Then he's like, let me show her he's done, girl. And then he just chopped it to bits. And then Lizard scratched somebody on the other side. And then I think Hulk just went over and just went. Yeah. And then they took all 9 points in the last round and did 24-15.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was we were so bloody close, and then the very last turn, everything kind of unraveled on us. But they were great. Hats off to them. They kept their game together. You know, they didn't make mistakes towards the end there when they needed to not make mistakes, and they deserved to win. It was great.
Yeah.
I mean,
as we talked about,
as long as you're proud of your game, of the game you played, and I mean, sometimes even if you don't win, you feel that you played well enough to win, but there were a couple of small things that needed to go your way but didn't. So you can still be happy about the game, even though in the end the result didn't go your way. But I mean, that is something that that's just simply part of MCP, because this is a game with a lot of variance, and that means that even a better player will sometimes lose. So I think it's about being pleased and content with your own game is the most important thing, and I'm really happy for you guys that you took it that far. And yeah,
I'm ecstatic. I mean, for us looking back at it, as we talked about after the game, if we have just gone, we played it 20 minutes out and go to game to time, we would have won on time because we were ahead, and they couldn't have made the points back in that round. They only made it back in the last round, so we would have won by, I think, 5 points by then.
Yeah.
But as Norbert said, it's not a nice way to win when we do have the chance to play out the whole game and it's the final. And knowing that they did everything right. But I think if we hadn't forgot this, the Mark for Dead, and possibly having using our climbing gear as well, and did the math right, and just taking 1 minute longer in the last round and trying to work out the math, if we done those 3 things, we probably would have won the game. We could have won the game anyway. Just depending on
as you said yourself, fatigue is a thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, to be honest, after game 3 and 4, I was mentally drained. I thought, we're dying. It's done. I have no idea what we're doing. Then we came up to the final. We had a little break. I had some water in my head. I actually I broke out the M&Ms, and Norbert forgot to eat them, and I was just chucking down until there was none left. I kept saying, I got M&Ms. Norbert's, yeah. And then he just tried to focus. And I thought I was calm and collected. And then I found out in last round, I was calm and collected, but my brain was only working at 60% or something, because I thought I had everything done. I was like, I got the mat, and there's 7 points. I was like, wait a minute, there's 9 points. And I was like, oh. And I was like, actually, before we did the Black Cat move up, I was like, unless anything goes horribly wrong for them on the dice, we've lost the game. I kind of knew that already, because I just realized I did the math wrong.
It was all right, but at that point, like you were saying, Huggy, I felt that we gave them a strong game. It came down to the wire. As far as I'm concerned, even though we didn't win it, it was a fantastic way to finish the tournament. So I was super pleased at the event. I was so happy, and it was great.
I mean, we played a final that was worthy of a stream. That's the important thing as well. I mean, the guys at who's doing the streaming, Professional Castle Network, I mean, they said they were ecstatic, and Omnis watched the whole thing, and he's like, "Wow, that's a final." I mean, besides the the wobbly Twin Jet, everything was just amazing. I mean, even that was a fun thing
Yeah, it was
in
a
the
fun
game.
thing.
Yeah.
Because they were gentlemen, just like we were.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
stuff slid off. We just told them to put it back, as best
Yeah.
we could, and it was okay. It was fine.
Yeah. I mean, we actually measured out before the game after we put the token down. It's like, okay, can you stand next to the wing and be within 1 point, or do you have to be on the wing? And we realized, okay, you have to be on the wing. So we knew that. So it didn't matter if the token moved. We just put it approximately where it needed to be, and we knew to be within one of the objective, you had to be on the Twin Jet. You couldn't stand next to it because that was decided before the game, and we all knew that. So no problem.
Yep.
You just put the token down, and whoever's on the wing could be within one, and if you're not on the wing, you're not winning the objective.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing. No, and there was, I mean, everybody I played with the whole weekend and then doing the team tournament was super nice.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to mention the thing in the first game with Dormammu.
Yes. And it's funny because today, Across the Bifrost did a Sleeve It or Heave It with that same card. So the card is Smash, right? And
Oh yeah.
now, you don't hear about Smash very much. But as it turns out, and we read the card, not because we were doubting them, and we made sure we told them that but it's so unusual for a card to affect an entire activation. And it's usually an attack or at best an attack action. So we had to read the card a couple times, and no, it's for the entire activation. So we were playing on Researcher. I think it was Researcher, but one in the middle. We had three
Demons Downtown.
Demons Downtown. We had 3 criminals or 4 criminals in the middle, like you do. Dormammu rocks up with his 8 power, smashes a size 3 thing or size 4. Size 4. So now he's rolling 9 dice, and he has so much power they're rolling the spender, which if you get the right combination of dice, you just get to do again.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh.
But not only once. You can keep going. We found out.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So we have
That's
Hulk
great
Cap next to him, and then 2 criminal syndicates next to Hulk.
Yeah.
So they do the first attack into Hulk, and we're thinking, we don't really want Hulk to take too much damage, but we do want some damage and power on him. So we'll take the first attack on Cap and bodyguard it.
Yeah.
And Cap goes squish, and he gets the trigger.
Yeah, of
and
course.
then he's like, okay, I'm gonna hit Taskmaster on the other side. I was like, okay. So he hit on Taskmaster, he gets the trigger, and we says, yeah, but you can only do no. It doesn't say it doesn't go further. And we're like, oh shit, no.
It's
okay, you
free
can keep
attacks. It's just
so
free
he hit
attacks.
the guy Taskmaster, the guy next to Taskmaster, crushed him, and then he failed to get the attack on Hulk, and Hulk just stood there like, ding, ding, ding. Where's all my friends? And then he's like, they had the best results. 3 of our guys were down. And actually, we just killed some of the guys the round before, and then now they walked up and go, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Hulk standing alone, no extra power, and Dormammu just stands there like,
It was great. It was like
it was like shooting ducks in a row.
It was unreal. I didn't know that about that card, and I didn't know that about his spender. I thought it'd be just one that's extra attack, but no.
Yeah, we definitely know. And these guys only play like 5 or 6 months, mostly against each other, and they work this out, and we're like, we had no idea. We was like, wow, okay, now we got to work hard to win this game, because I was like, that's that flipped the whole game. We actually got pressure there. We thought, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, we learned something new.
About this game, that there are so many hidden gems still to be discovered, and every month someone comes up with something that no one has seen before. It's just so deep. It really is.
All right. Yeah, it's good fun.
All right, Gil, I think we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure playing with you at the event, of course, and but nice to recount it with you. I'm glad you got home safely.
With my suitcase.
Yeah, he didn't have a suitcase for the first 2 days of the convention either.
No.
But he managed.
Well, other than that, it sounds like you guys had the perfect con experience.
Couldn't have been better.
It was beautiful. I can only recommend it. Next year it's going to be Las Vegas Open and Adepticon for me.
Fantastic.
So, Huggy, why don't you close us out with any last comments or questions?
I just want to congratulate you to a top performance, and well deserved, and most of all, congratulations on a great experience. I'm really envious here, and I really hope to visit an American con in the future. or at least one in Europe.
Yes, yes. Hopefully, we'll get one together. I mean,
Yeah.
we need something like this here. It's a shame that they don't exist.
Yeah, we should work on that. I mean, we have enough community powers in Europe to do that. We just need to find a place and work our
Localize them,
games.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's our next project, Norbert.
Oh
Let's
God.
look into that.
I bet you if I'm still
Sounds
here in Europe when I
amazing.
retire, that might be my thing I'm going to do.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thanks for
So
watching.
this has been
Go ahead. Go ahead.
this has been two fantastic, interesting discussions, and soon we'll be streaming some cut games, I suppose.
Thanks for reminding me. Yes. So this was a week off, which worked out perfectly with Adepticon for us to do this post-con show. But yeah, next week we're hoping to start streaming the first round of 5. It'll be 5 rounds of cuts for TTS Season 7. All right, everyone.
Lots of excitement there.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Everybody, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for chatting with us. It was really fun. And we hope to see you around the tables sometime soon.